Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I am also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we are going to go over some specific characteristics that show up with an avoidant, dismissive, or fearful leaning dismissive. That means they have chosen you, they have picked you as their partner, and they're not planning on going anywhere. These are pretty specific events, and so you guys might not get all of these simply because they are extremely specific. However, they probably will show up as a relationship continues, okay? And so the very first one, which I see most commonly, is when you make a sound of disappointment. You didn't do it on purpose. It was unintentional. Maybe you disapprove of something. Maybe it's not even a sound. It's like maybe you frowned a little bit about something at all. It might even be something that they did, or maybe it's not, just in general. And they ask you what's wrong, or they want to understand you. Now, why is this meaning that avoidant individuals care about you? This is more common with dismissive avoidance because fearful avoidance, some of them might do this, and it doesn't mean they love you. If they're anxious leaning. If it's dismissive, it typically does. And avoidants tend to be pretty self-centered and they don't focus on other moods very often, right? That's a very anxious trait. And the focusing on their own internal mood makes them appear very selfish. It makes them actually become that way. And it's due to their own childhood. It's due to their own neglect. And so what happens is, even with all of those barriers and reinforcements in place for them, they still pay attention. They want to figure out what's going on because it's a very big deal to them. They pay attention to you because they care about you, okay? They're really focused. What's wrong? Are you okay? Right? And so that sound of disappointment makes them feel like, is there something I can do to resolve that feeling, okay? The next one is that maybe they had a very moody and stressful day, okay? And they are short with you. But as the minutes go by, you two are connecting more and they're in a better mood. So in short, you make them noticeably happier, right? So the example that I was giving is that they're having a stressful day. They're in a really bad mood when you guys first go on that date. They're not in the best mood. They're trying. But as the minutes go by, as you two are talking more, as you guys are connecting, their mood is more uplifting. They become more happy. They become more softer towards you, actually. They're less rigid. They may be even more affectionate, more loving, and they may be more giving as well. I've had this patient that reported the couple where and I see this all the time, anxious, preoccupied, let's say she's female, dismissive, avoidant, let's say the example he's male, and he had a really stressful day. Let's say he works very stressed. Let's say he's an attorney and he had a very long, difficult day. They went on a date and he's very stressed. He doesn't want to talk about it as usual. A lot of avoidants don't want to talk about it. And sometimes they'll open up eventually, but sometimes they just won't because they want to put work where work is and really focus on his family or his partner when he's at home. And so let's say in this example, he's very stressed out and he goes on this date with his partner and he's moody, but she doesn't say anything or do anything. She's just going about the typical structure of their date. And as the date goes on, he's so much more calming. He's more happy. And then maybe he does open up about his stressful day, or maybe he reaches out, he holds her hand, or maybe he kisses her on her cheek a couple times. He's very happy around her. He feels very light and satisfied around her. He doesn't feel the overwhelming of stress. And so a lot of avoidant individuals, specifically with this type of point, they actually start mentioning like this person feels like safety. It feels like home to them. Like it's not stressful. It's also not intense and emotional because that makes them feel like it's not going to last, right? They like that compassionate love. And I've talked about that type of research, compassionate love, where they feel like safety, home. They feel relaxed. That's actually why a lot of times you'll see, this one's more common with fearful avoidance, what I'm about to say, that they sleep easier when you're next to them. Very fearful avoidant type, but dismissive avoidance as well. And so you can see that you in of itself, your presence quite literally makes them in a better mood. Very, very common, okay? The next one, they actually commit to things that you two agreed on and they won't go back on their word, okay? Let's say you guys are together for 4 years. And at one point, you guys have discussed, maybe a year ago, that if you two get a job in another state, you were just being hypothetical at the point, maybe a year ago, so it was 3 years in a relationship, that if one of you guys get a job in another state, that you will move in together. And let's say at the 4th year or 5th year mark, maybe someone's applying to a job and they get a better one at another state, in another state. And they might say, okay, like remember we talked about, because they'll recall, they'll remember because they committed to it. They recalled that, okay, didn't we agree that we would move in together? How are you feeling about that? Because I'm okay with that. But I think this job, that go get that opportunity and then I'll move in with you, or we'll split the rent. How do you want to do it? They really are truly, legitimately fine with it. Even though originally, maybe years ago, this would be very triggering to them. But that moment where they agreed on it, you might have thought, okay, they were just casually agreeing. It was hypothetical. It didn't mean anything. But it meant something to them. When they gave you their word, and they committed, no matter how many months ago it was, they're holding on to that and they're doing it. And that's what happens, okay? And the next one is they randomly tell you details about their life or their preferences, okay? This happens more commonly if you guys are doing tasks together. So they might open up when you guys are taking a walk, maybe playing basketball together, maybe playing chess. And this is much more common with avoidance. I know with other attachment styles, they open up more with the face-to-face connection, dismissive avoidance particularly, but also fearful avoidance actually. Both, even if they're anxious leaning, but still more if they're dismissive leaning. When you guys are doing side-by-side connection, that's when they open up about their details and preferences much more. I also notice with fearful avoidance more particularly, they actually open up a lot easier by text message or on a phone call. I think dismissive avoidance a little easier when you're in person, but side-by-side, and then anxious, that face-to-face, and to be honest, secure, it's all, they're open to everything. And so you can see with an avoidant, they're starting to open up about their details and their preferences about their life and some of the things that maybe they just didn't tell you before or they were not as open about, okay? Sometimes what ends up happening is it might even be something that you guys have been struggling with and they didn't even know it's something important, or maybe they were too ashamed to tell you. And that's a little bit difficult. So I'm going to give an example that kind of happens with my patients. And I'm thinking of one example that I literally saw yesterday, but I still want to give you this example. Let's say for whatever reason, well, not whatever reason, the attachment issue is a dismissive avoidant. Let's say he's a male. He is avoiding bedroom intimacy. And you, let's say you're a fearful avoidant female or whoever, right? This example. You're wondering why this is not happening. And you know somewhere inside it's because they're an avoidant, but they don't admit that. Maybe they don't say they're an avoidant or they don't like terminology or whatever. So they have almost implied that it could be you, even though they tell you, oh, it's not you, but they're not saying, oh, it's me. They're like leaving it vague. And so in your mind, you're like, okay, maybe it is me. Maybe I'm unattractive. Maybe I'm not what they want. And so you blame yourself, you pick on yourself. And then one day, maybe you guys are doing the side-by-side communication, whatever, and they open up that in their previous relationships, the same issue happened where they stopped wanting intimacy in the bedroom. And they could have told you that before when you guys would fight about it all the time. But maybe they were too ashamed. Maybe they didn't even remember. Maybe they were too triggered. But now they're opening up to you. And why do you think they're opening up to you? There's two parts to it. One is because they're more comfortable with you. But the second part is they're actually trying to tell you somewhere, I know it sounds very subtle, but they're trying to tell you, I'm aware that this is my issue and I do want to change like a little bit. Like it's an open door that maybe I will change because it is a me thing, right? And you can see that sometimes they will open up about the barriers they have that you didn't realize was a barrier. Like you had a feeling it was a barrier, but they kind of ignored it or denied it. So they're opening up their denial when you guys are doing this. So that's another one. So sometimes it's a random detail like, oh, I love how my mom makes black cherry ice cream. That could be one, but it could also be, hey, all of my relationships, I stopped wanting bedroom intimacy. So it's not just you, right? And so the extreme or intensity of what they're opening up can vary, but it's a very common theme, okay? And the very last one, which is very similar to the first one, where you make a sound of disappointment or disapproval and they ask you what's wrong, very similar. Maybe you put your hand on your stomach because you have cramps, menstrual cramps, right? They might quickly look and glance and say, hey, what's wrong? They immediately notice when before they didn't. Maybe you are walking a little bit slower and they say, are you okay? It could be anything. And I'm not saying all avoidants are male and their partner's female. I'm just giving examples. And before, maybe they didn't notice those things, but now they're very hyper-focused on you and where you are and the position you are in. And so that comes from them caring about you. They want to ask you, are you okay? Right? And so those are some of the reasons that you will know if this is happening in your relationship, even one of them, right? Because these are specific. I told you, you might not hit all of them at once because they're very specific. But even if you have one of them, obviously your partner really cares about you. They love you. They have chosen you. They have picked you, whatever you want to call it. And they're not going anywhere, okay? So please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.